Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and I'm going to go over the strategy that I used in order to defeat the Leviathan in the Proud event versus Leviathan. Now, a few things I want to say before I go ahead and explain my setup. First thing being, I don't think this is a quest that is going to be beaten by all players. This is not an easy quest. The last time they brought the Leviathan in, it was ridiculously difficult, which leads into my next point, that the Leviathan is probably the hardest Heartless that's ever come to Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, because the Leviathan at its most powerful has so much to deal with. It was literally almost the exact same thing that we had to deal with the Proud event way back in February. So it's a sea monster that overwrites its strength and overwrites your defense. This is an overwrite ability. It is not an increase or decrease, meaning that you're not losing 6 defense. It's going to put you at -6 defense. So overwriting can be a lot stronger than just increasing and decreasing, meaning that you need to continually be able to pump out the buffs and debuffs turn after turn, meaning you can't specifically be reliant on supernova attacks. Not just that, but it absorbs magic-based damage. So there's a lot of good magic metals in this game. There is Kingdom Hearts 3 Elsa, there is the Rock Troll, and if you buff yourself before using any of these attacks, it's just going to heal the Leviathan, making your journey even longer. So there's a lot of good magic-based metals, but unfortunately, if you use them with buffing, it's just going to heal this and make it harder. Realistically, you can only use those magic-based metals if they are not buffed, because even if it absorbs it, it's only going to be absorbing like 1 HP or something like that. The next part is that it reflects 10% of any upright damage you deal. Now, this is another reason you can't even buff yourself before using an upright metal, because 10% of damage doesn't seem like a lot. But when you're the one doing the damage, when you are attacking a Heartless, you're doing millions of points of damage at a time. 10% of that being reflected is well above the game's HP cap right now, which is, I think, even if you had like multiple max HP 100 or max HP plus 800 traits, would be capped at like probably 20,000. You know, and that's a really high number already. So the fact that you're dealing millions of points of damage to the enemy, a 10% reflection can very easily knock you out. Not only that, but there's so much going for this enemy that they didn't even include the part where they said this enemy has a blue hit counter above it. And as I've said before in the past, a lot of reverse metals affect blue counter. It's really most of the recent ones that don't. So the Berserker doesn't, the Gambler doesn't, the Dark Riku metal does not. So only recently have reverse metals been having the capacity to do count plus -0. It's part of their ability nowadays. Most of the old ones, even considering Dissidia Sephiroth, the Rock Troll, both of those are great reverse metals that, lo and behold, decrease count. So even the reverse metals that you can use against this thing, it's very difficult to coordinate all of that. And not just that, but if only to slap you on the wrist one additional time. Not even dealing with the Leviathan, which is already hard enough as is. The game says only special attacks requiring 1 or more gauges allowed. Are you kidding me? That means our best generic buffers, and in this case specifically HD Xion, which is a tier 8 buffer, can't even be used alone. You have to use a copy metal that has a gauge cost of more than one or more in order to cast it. So that's 2 metal slots. So it's like, this quest is supposed to be hard. I really don't think it's a quest that everyone's going to pass, specifically because I couldn't pass the one in February. I made sure to load up myself with a reverse metal that was really good. In this case, I got Dissidia Sephiroth, and then I've got Dark Riku and the Rock Troll at this point. So because of that event back in February, I was like, I need to upgrade my reverse setups, and we're here finally with an upgraded setup. So I've tried a lot of different things against this boss, and I know a lot of people are going to criticize me because I use Dark Riku, but I've tried a lot of different things. I'm going to try exploring a little bit more later. So some of the stuff I tried included, let's see if I could find my Dark Gnaw. I tried using a reflection strategy, I tried using a recovery buffing strategy, and neither of those worked. So I need to play around with the boss a little bit more, try to figure out if there's a setup that doesn't require Dark Riku, but at this point in time, the best I could do is a setup that only relies on one Dark Riku with a shared Dark Riku. So only two, with one of them being owned. The rest of it is all just copy medals and gauge restoration. So I'll go ahead and talk about all of that. Luckily, this setup doesn't require tier 10 copy medals. It only requires Angelic Amber and Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee, which has been available for a long time. Hopefully you have a decently traded copy. Alright, so let's actually just go through these one by one. So the first thing is Prime, Roxas, and Xion, and the main idea behind this medal is that it has attack boost 7 max and gauge 0, and it restores gauges. So if we pause the special attack right here, gauge plus 3. So remember that attack boost 7 max gauge 0, it lowers the gauge cost to 0, but that gauge plus 3 effect still goes into effect. So every cast of this, I'm getting 3 gauges for the turn. With extra attack, that's an additional 6 gauges for the turn. The next medal is going to be Supernova Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel. Again, attack boost 9 max, gauge 2, kind of on the low end of things right now, with attack boost 13 coming out of Coliseum this month, but perfect traits. Perfect traits, even a very decent pet trait at strength plus 2000. So really decent medal there. Of course, we have the Kingdom Hearts 3 Supernova plus Dark Riku. Again, I'm trying to find builds that don't rely on this medal, but right now I'm having a really difficult time doing that with what I've got on hand. So Kingdom Hearts 3 Dark Riku, I've been talking about this medal for the past few days. It's ridiculously broken. Critical hit chance of hitting a 25.27 multiplier is ridiculous. Count plus minus 0. Again, not a lot of reverse medals had count plus minus 0 before this current generation. So the Gambler, the Berserker, Kingdom Hearts 3 Dark Riku, Final Fantasy 7 Remake Sephiroth, those all have count plus minus 0. But anything before that, Rock Troll, I believe the Deciduous Sephiroth, all those had moves, had special attacks that affected the count of the enemy, making it harder with this Leviathan that has a blue hit counter. So Kingdom Hearts 3 Dark Riku, enough said, great medal, fantastic. I really hope that people were able to get their hands on this one, especially since it was right after the Final Fantasy 7 remake. HD Riku Replica, a tier 8 medal. Really the only great thing about this medal is that it has extra attack and it is allowing us to copy this Riku's effect. So remember that I said it in my imitation medals video, but copy medals, even if they're outdated, even if they're old tier, they still copy effects. So I'm using this HD Riku Replica as a buffer by copying the Kingdom Hearts 3 Dark Riku. So by copying it, we're still getting that 2-turn speed medal strength plus 3000. We're still getting the perfect buffing for reverse speed medals. So that's the whole point of this HD Riku Replica, to give us an additional plus 6000 speed medal strength on the first turn, and then plus 12,000 speed medal strength every turn after that, just because it's copying Dark Riku. The purpose of this nominee here is really just second chance and for the Supernova attack, which we use on the first turn. I'll go ahead and show you that later, but again, this nominee is loaded with resists. The best setup for buffers in terms of traits is resists. So that's the whole point of this nominee. We obviously cannot use her ability because she costs 0 gauges. Last medal is going to be Angelic Amber with attack boost 10 max, gauge 2, and pretty much perfect traits minus this gauges plus 2. I really wish that was a strength, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I know that this setup works. I've tried it already. So again, attack boost 10 max, not the best that we've got right now. We're about to get attack boost 13 max. So 10 max is still acceptable, but not where we'd want it to be. And then when it comes to the friend medal, we are copying a Dark Riku. So again, Dark Riku, not much to be said about this one. It's amazing, it's broken, and it's just fantastic of a medal. All right, so let's go ahead and just run through the strategy bit by bit. So if we run into the battle here, I should have actually picked up that chest to heal first. All right, so what we want to do is we want to activate this Kingdom Hearts 3 nominee on the first turn without any buffing. Remember that it has upright reflection. So if I buff myself and then use this nominee, it could reflect back enough damage to knock us out. So before we do any buffing on ourselves, we activate the nominee, and that's going to give us some gauges back. That's going to give us plus 5,000 metal strength for the turn, and then we're going to just attack here. So again, this is just for gauge restoration. That is the whole point of that prime medal there. Next thing, we're just going to activate these 3 medals normally. So the Lee is for damage, the Dark Riku is for damage, and then the HD Riku Replica is strictly for buffing. That is all it's there for. But as you can see, we're still getting plus 3,000 speed medal strength, which is awesome. So even though it's only doing 1 damage, it sets up the rest of the metal so that they can do more damage. So we'll go ahead and tap with the Nominate here because there's nothing we could do. And then the Angelic Amber and the Dark Riku, again, going in for more damage. And look at those critical hits. Those critical hits with the times 25 multiplier is just almost unfair to watch. All 4 of those attacks were critical hits. Crazy. Alright, so again, we're going to heal our gauges up a little bit with the Prime Riku and Xion. And then we're going to activate one of these. So we're going to activate one of these, and that is going to fix the buffing. It's going to make it so that when we activate our Dark Riku Supernova attacks, they're going to be doing the maximum amount of damage. So we'll go ahead and activate one of these. And then we'll go ahead and activate the second one of these. The reason that I activate these on turn 2 is because now we are getting additional buffs from the Dark Riku. Because remember, Dark Riku is a 2-turn buffer. So we got a little bit more of a push by activating it turn 2. And then it's going to last all the way until turn 3. So we should be good. So more Dark Riku madness going on. Buffing on this one. So even with all the buff, even with plus 57,000 strength, this Riku is not doing any damage whatsoever. But again, that's not his point in this setup. He does not exist to do damage. Alright, and then from here, it's just an autoplay. Because remember that the 2-turn Supernova gives us the special attack bonus for 2 turns. It gave us buffs already. So at this point, we just play it out. And that should do it. That should be enough. So we get the second chance again from the Nominee that we can't activate the skill for. It was important that I didn't put the Nominee first, with the sole reason being that when you come back, you only get 1 HP. And even though the Nominee only attacks for 1 HP, if they reflect 1 HP and you only have 1 HP, you're getting taken out. So again, I'm still playing with strategies for how to beat the Leviathan. That was my reasoning behind the metals that I used. You could probably sub out that Prime Riku and Xion with pretty much any reverse metal that is able to restore gauges that has a gauge cost of 1 or more. But that was really the reason it existed. It didn't exist for anything tricky particularly. So that was the setup I used. Again, let me just show you it real quick. The friend metal was a Dark Riku, but let's go ahead and show you this view of it. So that was the setup I used. Again, not everyone is going to pass this. Dark Riku was definitely a necessity for me in this. As you saw, I got all the way up to turn 3. And I had to use my Dark Riku and a friend's Dark Riku. So I'm still playing around trying to see if there's any other strategy that I can use. But this is what I came up for now. The easiest, most base form of a strategy that I could recommend to someone that doesn't require tier 10 Supernova, copy metals, that only uses 1 Kingdom Hearts 3 Nominee. Maybe I'll try to do it without the Nominee, but I'm looking as bare bones as humanly possible in order to figure out the best strategy that works for everyone. But with that being said, that's the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. If you want to join my Discord for some additional help off hours or off the comments box, feel free to join. It's in the yellow box right under the screen there. But that's all for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time, take it easy.